Welcome back to The Line. There's a state-run program that helps folks with developmental disabilities participate as active members of the community. That's through an allocation of funding known as the Developmental Disabilities, or DD waiver. But as Dan McKay reported in a recent Albuquerque Journal article, up to 4,500 children and young adults are on a waiting list, and the list keeps growing. And Diane, 4,500, I have to say that again. I mean, this article to me was shocking. I know you and Dan dealt with this, and Eric as well, in the years past in your time in the legislature. What's the fundamental problem here where you see it? I know it's money, but what's the other fundamental problem here from your point of view?
Well, part of the problem is, and I found this out by talking to a couple current legislators, is legislators feel like they're not getting the correct and enough information from the departments to be able to justify a humongous big-scale appropriation.
Right.
So I think that's one small piece.
I see.
Oftentimes I've heard that used as an excuse too. The last few years have been really, really tight. Money, I can see that, but we've given to a lot of other things. Why would, it's beyond my comprehension that people wait as long as they do. They're grown by the time a mother or father may apply.
It's so unfair. It really is.
Yeah, and so what's the help?
Right.
And particularly when they get to an age where they're looking for a job or self-sustaining themselves, lots of things like that. Those are the kinds of services that I think we should focus on because we want them to become productive citizens.
Sophie, 12 and a half years? I mean,
So
come on.
The wait time right now is an average of 12 and a half years. And I think
Average, it's amazing.
To place it in context, I mean, you point out that there are around 4,500 people on the wait list. There are only about 4,600 in the program. So we're looking at a wait list that if everyone was brought in would double the number of people who are part of the program, and the estimate right now is that they're looking for about $131 million, which is not nothing, but could have a big impact for this community. It's worth noting that it's a relatively limited community. I mean, we're talking about just under 10,000 people who would ultimately be participating. It's people with intellectual disabilities, with autism, with cerebral palsy. They may or may not be able, to Diane's point, to become self-sufficient. It's going to depend on that particular individual. We're also seeing over the last decade plus an increase in the number of diagnoses in some of these areas.
That's an important point, isn't it?
So, I mean, I don't think that the expectation right now is that the demand is going to suddenly disappear. This is a really serious issue for the state. Now, some of the money comes from the feds, some of it comes from us. But this is something that I think our legislature is going to need to take another look at.
Dan, pick up on that, on the money aspect particularly. There's LFC's looking at this saying, well, there might be another way to do this and maybe a little less money. We'll take it and...
We could be a little less generous.
A little less generous, I'm going to get to that too. But, you know, we'll chop it down in 5-year hunks instead of, you know, catching up year to year. Does this make sense to you? We have a little extra money to work with, so we have some...
So here's the problem, Gene. You know, history tells you that you can judge a group by how they take care of the disabled, how they take care of their elderly, how they take care of the sick, those who can't take care of themselves. We have an F in this field for 30 years. This is not a partisan issue. This is not a governor issue. This is purely a political issue from the extent that this is a small enough group that doesn't vote, therefore they're not getting a voice. When you see these folks that come up before legislative hearings and these families, people are failing to realize that these people are having to completely quit their jobs to take care of a child who cannot take care of themselves. And our answer to that is put your name on a list for some future date, 12, 13, 14, 15 years down the road. And some people aren't even learning about putting their name on the list until the child is 16, 17, 18 years old, and they're at that point that you can't take care of the child anymore. And when you realize the amount of money this is, to me, shame on us when we start talking about early childhood intervention, health care, all these other things that we're talking about out there, corporate tax cuts. I don't care. It's not a partisan thing to me. If we don't stop and say the first thing we're going to do with the surplus money we've got in the state now is figure out how to take care of the people that have zero chance to take care of themselves. Zero. Because we can have an argument about health care and everything else and say, well, you should go get a job or you should better yourself. These are individuals that by no choice of their own are in this situation, and we are failing I mean, miserably failing at doing this.
terrible.
And
Yep.
and at some point, doing the right thing shouldn't be by the biggest donor. Doing the right thing shouldn't be by who has the biggest political push, who has the best lobbyists. Doing the right thing in the time that I was in the legislature, and I don't want to speak for my colleagues, every year these folks would come up to see it, and it was one of the saddest days in the legislature when you're watching a mother, wheeling her son around, and the dad's in in a walker next to him, and they're talking to you saying, I don't know what we're going to do. Right. I mean, he's going to be gone in 5 years. I'm going to be gone in 5 years. And our son's going to live to be 50. Right. And he's 20 years old. He's 6'2", 230 pounds. And
I'm hearing
we don't know what to do. And so I mean, at some point, this state has got to get its priorities right. And these are the most vulnerable people in our state. And we have failed. Republicans, Democrats, executive, legislative, courts, it doesn't matter who. We have completely failed at taking care of these folks. And hopefully, maybe this is the first step in us saying, and when we and so you don't have to come back to me, because obviously I get pretty passionate about this. When the answer from the legislature is, hey, we got all this money, so we'll cut services so we can put more people on to give them less services. That's right. It's embarrassing.
It's amazing. Eric, let me kind of touch on what Dan was saying there. Just the $130 million that Sophie mentioned, we're talking a year to get 4,000 people off those rolls. So now the idea is, LFC is saying, analysts are saying, if you do it trying to get 25 to 50% off, we can do it for about 33 to 65 million a year. Now, the legislature just a bit ago kicked in $2 million to kind of stem the to stem the blood flow.
Woo!
Here.
That's
right,
crazy
exactly.
money.
So $2 million out of you see what I'm getting at here. Someone's going to have to make a big ask here on behalf of these folks, whether it be a new governor coming in, or, whatever it's going to take. Someone's going to have to drive this train. It's going to be difficult.
I just think it's fundamentally there's a lot of hypocrisy, right? Because what we've done is we've gutted our revenues. We've talked about this in the show a lot, right? Ultimately, if Republicans and Democrats really believe that the least among us should be prioritized, starting with these folks who have serious disabilities and who need the community's help, and is there such a thing as a common good? And but for the grace of God, do we think whether or not I have a kid or a family member shouldn't be the test? Does anybody in this community? But it's the same for our elders. It's the same for the poorest kids in this community. So, but what we've done instead, and it's been both, although I would say there are folks who are more conservative on fiscal policy for sure, have said we can give away tax breaks. We can have we have essentially a flat state budget. Our budget right now is where it was about 10 years ago, $6.3 billion. If you really want to serve these people, and this isn't just rhetoric, then you have to bite the bullet and say, you know what, we really can't afford these corporate tax cuts. We really have to ask the wealthiest New Mexicans to put in a little more money. We really have to eliminate the capital gains tax. We really have to do some things that are going to require some political courage on the part of both parties. And nobody wants to talk about taxes, but we can all wax poetic and moral about how important these people are. The bottom line is it costs money. Do we believe that we should be paying for the least among us to have a decent standard of living? And the last thing is, the waiver part comes from them not being institutionalized, for us being a civilized state and country that says we think these people, just like any of us, have a right to be out and be with their families and be in community. And are they part of our community, or are they really sort of this sort of lepers that we want to keep institutionalized and out of public view? So I think this is a gut check. What Dan said, this is a moral gut check, but it costs money. Do we put our money where our mouth is?
What's your sense of it? Do you think we're going to get there?
I think it's a recurring funding issue. The issue we haven't talked about, $150 million is the number we've talked about always. And can we find that every year? Not just when oil and gas revenues are high, but we have to put that in the budget every year. That's a lot of money.
That's a good point. Have to end that there. When we come back, we'll look at the recent controversy over straight party voting.